Hello, welcome to the Christmas edition, well, maybe not the holiday edition of the Yarnivore Podcast. I am Sadie, I am your host, also known as Sadie Ruin on Ravelry, or no, Blue Ruin on Ravelry, and Sadie Ruin on Twitter and Instagram. See, I don't even have my facts straight. It is currently the 23rd of December, and I highly doubt anyone will watch this until January, but I still felt the need to do it, because hey, if my husband wasn't home, I probably would be marathoning a bunch of podcasts, and I would be really grateful for someone to podcast at this time of year. Got a little gussied up. I am wearing makeup. Please do not point out that the eyeliner doesn't match. I know it doesn't match, but it's close. Now, before we get started, I would like to do a little shout-out dedication to my good friend Pam back in Minnesota, back in my one home of Minnesota. I have many homes now, and her partner W. As we go on through this tough time, they just lost a puppy, and I call all dogs puppies. In truth, she was no longer a puppy, but as we lose our pets, it is horrible. And especially during this time of year, I lost my grandmother between Christmas and New Year's. I believe she passed on New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve day, and so subsequently, I understand this being a tough time of year, so I just wanted to send a little virtual hug on out to my friends back in the Minnesota homestead, whilst I prep what I did not prep before starting this. Right. See, I'm going to start with that now. I'm not intoxicated, I swear. Okay, so in the last week, my husband has come home. Just for the holidays, he's not going to be around long. This is not like great joy. I am not used to this coming and going business, but apparently it's normal. So let's all brace ourselves for impact, because guess what? It's going to get long. And, yeah. I'm preparing myself. It's kind of weird. Anywho, so I've been getting some knitting done and some not knitting done. And the first thing, no, it was this one I showed you. It was this one I showed you when it was a work in progress. And I was using the Magic Ruffle Cake, which looks a bit something like this now. This is what it looks like. Of just odds and ends of leftovers from my scrappy blanket, from socks. So if it was in a sock and it was big enough, I put it in my scrappy blanket. After my scrappy blanket, I either made minis if I had enough, or I took whatever little 8-gram thing was left and threw it in a box. And then I made a Magic Ruffle Cake out of what was left. And then I caked it all. I followed Nettle on Ravelry and Instagram, and I think Twitter as well. And she's been doing socks with the Helix sock pattern, and so I did a variation of that in that I was magic looping and did not use the 4DBNs and moving it around like such. There is a join. There is a jog, but I'm okay with that. It's not going to bug my OCD. However, pulled from one end of the ball and the other. So one round on the outside, one round from the inside, one round from the outside, one round from the inside. And subsequently, I finished the sock. The toes and cuffs, I used this leftover skein of Knit Picks Essential in the grass colorway. It's 75-25 Superwash Merino nylon. I made a pair of fiddlehead mittens from the Knitter's Book of Yarn. Is it the Knitter's Book of Yarn that has that? It's a pattern, the fiddlehead mittens, and I had made a pair for myself. A family friend requested it out of greens. Subsequently, I had a skein left over of each of the colors because it turns out I only needed one ball. So this little guy has been floating around, trying to get in on the action somewhere, and subsequently became the cuffs and toes for both socks. And now I have finished socks. So, ta-da! There's the other one. I finished it just last night. They are addictive. They are so addictive. I cannot express how dang addictive these are. Now, if you need to know how to make the Magic Ruffle Cake, there are 2 different ways you can do that. You can go to the Magic Ruffle Cake. The Knitting Pipeline is who did the shawl. It's Magic Ruffle Cake shawl, which has a completely different. You need grammage and everything to get a ball like this, and then you use the entirety of the ball. Which this is also odds and ends, which is waiting to be made into another one because I have one and I want to make another one so I can give them to my sister-in-laws. That was really fun. I just used the joining method, which is the double knot joining method, which you can find on YouTube. If you're not feeling like, if you want the shortcut, go buy the Magic Ruffle Cake shawl and make a Magic Ruffle Cake shawl because they're fun and the magic cakes are great fun to do, and you just weigh out different odds and ends and you get the shawl. Or you can just, YouTube search the double knot method, and I will not link it or anything. I think you should go by that pattern and get all of the subsequent information. The video itself is not put out by the Knitting Pipeline, I do not believe. And it is on YouTube, so it's under Creative Commons. But I used that knotting method to join everything, because I didn't want to have to weave in ends, and I figured they're for me, it's not going to bug me. So you end up having these little nubbins. Oh, that's much. There you go. See that little nubbin right there? This little guy. He'll lay flush when I'm wearing them. Doesn't really bug me. If that bugs you, you can of course weave in ends. There was no way I was weaving in this many ends. And yeah. I just made sure to pull all the knots to the inside while knitting. So I think I have enough to do another pair. I'm not sure. I'm going to weigh out my ball and see. Now that I've shown you these, I can wear them. Yay! Because that's my requirement now. I have to show them on the podcast before I can wear them. But this guy, this is the same ball. I just rewound it because it was looking pretty weird. So I will weigh it and see how much grammage I have. If I don't have enough, then I will just set it aside until I have more. But this is really kicking my sock knitting into overdrive. And that seems to happen right at the end of the year, in the beginning of the year, where I really want to knit socks, which plays into my knit-alongs because we are doing the stripy sock knit-along in conjunction with the Knitting with Tiffany. I want to say Breakfast at Tiffany's every time. And I know that's where she got it from. So that is that. And it's Tiffany and Aaron who are doing that with me. And then you get extra points if you use Susan from Desert Vista, me, which is Knitter's Nightmare, Fiber Nymph Dye Works, which is Lisa, or Jinx Yarn, which is Laura. Who all, except for Susan, everybody else has a podcast. Like Fiber Nymph has a podcast. I know Jinx does. Jinx, Susan, me. I have one. Anywho, I'm excited because this will give me an excuse to dig into my stash that I've been hoarding. Because I have at least, and I'm thinking of doing the, if Susan's doing it again this year, I'm not sure. I should look it up. The 12 pairs in 12 months of the Desert Vista. Right now, all of her year-long of books is currently, infomercial, by the way. Desert Vista Dye Works had the year of books. So the book covers translated into various stripe yarns, and some of them are the bomb diggity. Some books not my taste, but hey, I love books, so I was like all up in that. And she's put them all up for the time being. I think they go away at the end of this month, so please do go get them. The Crow is back, which is Amazeballs. On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Like, there's some really pretty things, and there's some really masculine things that would, like, I think the Grapes of Wrath would really work as a men's stripe if you're looking for a more toned down but still awesome rockin' sock. There are several of those. Like On the Road would probably also work for masculine, but I was looking through them the other night and I was like, yes, I will be getting some of those because I kind of want to do the 12 pairs in 12 months. I watched Pam do them and I was like, yes, and Laura from the Knit Girls, and I want to. and I have enough that I could probably get the first 6 months done. Probably. So even with my own knit along, if I knit one pair in January and one pair in February, because the knit along runs January and February, if I was entering, I would get 4 entries instead of just 2 for using someone who's involved. Although I also want to knit a Jinx yarn, the Jinx one I have, which is, I believe, is the October Rainbow. It is to die for. I need to get her Sailor Moon ones too. I'm having a moment, maybe it's the Christmas season, where it's like, okay, buy all the yarn. Stop yourself. All the cross stitch, all the yarn, all the books. That's all I need. I don't need clothes. I don't need underpants. Well, I probably do need underpants because Bebop has this horrible fetish of eating my underpants, as we've discussed before. But all the yarn, all the books, all the cross stitch. I'm good. All the fiber. Actually, no. I need to spin down some fiber before we do, and I need to process some fiber because I've got like 2 fleeces up here that need to be finished up. Let's not even get into the sewing stuff, shall we? We won't. We'll just pretend. By the way, did I tell you about the death of my sewing machine? It's not a death, really. It has to go in to be fixed, but my brother's quilt killed it. Like, threw the timing right off. So, it's going in. It'll be serviced in the new year, and hopefully I can get that giant monstrosity out of my house, but it is currently sitting there. That big brown blob, there, that's part of it. That's part of it. It's huge. No more California Kings. None. If you don't want a lap blanket or a twin, we're not going to talk. Done. Unless it's for me, then I might do a queen. I see the allure. Okay, so that was my only finished object. I only have one. I'm sorry. I tried really hard. Probably the reason I didn't get very far was because of this bubby, which I've been working on. I have not finished, and I didn't even finish the chart I said I was going to. I said I was going to finish chart D before I allowed myself to do anything, but then I looked at the chart, and guess what? I've been like 10 rowing it. Like, I can do 10 rows, and then I can do something else. I have to do 10 rows. So, in theory, tonight, I should be finished chart D. Fingers crossed. Hubby's not at home tonight, so I'm going to marathon the week of Coronation Street. I have saved up. Yes, I am that lame. And I am going to get her done. I'm going to get chart D done. This is the worst chart, just because everything's growing consistently. It's spreading out, and there's a bagillion beads. And they're right next to each other. So, we've got my lifeline from C, or from the end of B. This is C, which is the transition. Then we've got D here. And so, that's what they're starting to look like. You can see I've got 3 flowers growing out of each thing, or 3 stems, so I assume 3 flowers. And then we're closing up these open zones, which I like. I really dig it. I'm loving it. It takes a while to finish a row when they have beads on them, because this is a crochet add-on bead. It's not a bead you put on your thread and then you just push up, which I find quicker and easier. This one is like crochet the bead onto the thing, and some of them have to be knit and then crocheted on, and some are crocheted on and then knit, because, confusing is the name of the game. Now, having said that, this is a really well-charted pattern. It's really easy to read. It's very concise. I'm using 3.25 millimeter needles. These are my signatures. I use them to knit my wedding shawl, so hey, why wouldn't I use them to knit Lily's? I used US 1 2.25 millimeter needles to do the scrappy socks. I'm calling them the Magic Cake socks, and I think I'm going to start that hashtag. So if you want to join me in making Magic Cake socks, let's start a thing there, because that's pretty awesome. And then you use up all your scraps, and it'll make you feel like such like a reduce, recycle, reuse hippie. It's so awesome. Eileen, you need to get on this. I see you. I see you with your blankets and your scrappies. I know you got scraps. I know you got scraps. I'm calling you out. You come join me. We'll rock the world. This is out of the Unique Sheep EOS base. It's in the Irish Linen colorway, which just has a light purplish tinge to it. It's a very pleasant off-white, almost antique. That's about true to form right there. And I just dropped my crochet hook. Now, I'm crocheting the beads on with a US 13/14 0.9 millimeter needle. That is, it's a red heart. Boop, boop, red heart. There's the size, but it doesn't want to show you. It is super tiny, super tiny. Let's see. I can't get it to not blow up. Either way, it works. I'm using size 08 seed beads. They are from Earth Fair or Earth Fairy. I'm not sure how you say it. EARTHFAIRE.com. They look somewhat like this. Come here. Come here. There we go. And these are Antique Ivory Pearl Cilion beads. That's how much I've used so far. This packet came full, and that's how much I've used. That's basically one chart so far. I've not finished it yet. I will, though. I will finish this chart. I will be victorious. Is that a song? The other thing that got work in my Betty bag was my Twisted Limon socks. I finished one. Except for the heel. There's where the heel will go. I did 64 stitches on a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle. I did 4 colors worth of ribbing because I measure mine in colors, not rows, because I'm weird. Decreased down to 12 stitches, afterthought heel, cast on the second one. And let me tell you, I am so glad I didn't permanently screw it up because we went to see Rogue One. I believe it was Saturday. It was either Saturday or Sunday we went to see Rogue One. And I'm surprised that there isn't like some serious screw ups or drop stitches going on up in this toe. I know that the actual toe decreases are a little lopsided on one side because I forgot a bunch because we were in the movie. And I had to actually wait till we got home to Kitchener. It closed because you can't do that in a movie theater. Well, you can, but I just couldn't. That was like the saddest movie ever. Have you seen it? No spoilers, but man, sad. Answered a lot of questions. Apparently, I didn't have these questions because I am not as invested in the Star Wars franchise as my husband. Hey, where are you? I hear you. There you are. Hi. I just fed you. But he enjoyed it. Yeah. I'm glad people are enjoying it. I enjoyed it, but I'll be the first to admit to you, it's not my fandom. I enjoy it. Like, there are people who enjoy things, okay? I enjoy it. Like, I'm okay with Harry Potter. I don't need to reread the books or watch the movies ever again. I'm good with that. I'm fine with that. And then I've got friends like Tracy who is, like, totally obsessed with it, and that is awesome. You know, your fandom, you go, girl. And, you know, some people are comic books, and some people are really wars, like my brothers, really wars, which may be why I am not as into the wars as I could be. I am wholeheartedly, admittedly, 100%edly a Lord of the Rings geek. Tolkien all the way. Tolkien. So, yeah. Every now and then, like, I liked the wars. I think Han is a hottie. And I love Ewoks and think my dog is an Ewok. And I sing the Ewok song to him regularly. And he doesn't think it's strange anymore. But it's not my like, number one fandom. So if it is your number one fandom, chances are you loved it, or it helped you out some way, or it gave you some closure that you desperately needed, which I understand. I really do. Kind of like how the extended cut of The Lord of the Rings makes stuff make much more sense. Much more sense to me. It's up to you. I enjoyed it, but it made me sad. And I don't want to be sad at Christmas time. So much of the ball I have left. This is where I am on the second one. I should just call this episode Queen Rambles a lot. Queen Rambelia. The Rambel. For some reason, I want to put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. Come here, Pete. Come here. If you're just going to sit there and mew, she's just mewing at my feet, so I guess she can come sit here with me. Hey. If you're going to be in the lap, you should lay down. Not everybody wants to see your perping face. Right. So, between now and the end of December, I have a few things that I want to finish. I'm not sure if you're like me. I will be casting on the Christmas Eve cast on, and I'm thinking I'm going to do a pair of Winky and Dobby socks. Go see the Passionate Spinner podcast. She has a thing on how to start them, etc., etc. And I have a pair of the Best Friend colorways where another crafty girl did a half skein of two different colorways that are friends. And I have the Boom King and Business Time, which of course is Flight of the Conchords reference. And so I think I'm going to do that. And then I can alternate the colors. I think. That's going to be my Christmas Eve cast on because I love Sarah's stuff. And who doesn't love another crafty girl? Apparently that smells really good for Petrie. The other things I want to get done are the wedding shawl as soon as possible. My husband's hedgerow mittens, mitts, sorry. They're fingerless. You've seen them before. They're out of Another Crafty Girl. I have one completely done, and it is the bomb. And it looks like this. It's going to look big on my hand because I made it for his hands, but it looks like that. And then the second one, I am just to where I need to start with the thumb, which means I have to look at patterns now. So that is where I'm at with that. And it's Suiting Up, which is the Diva colorway for Overwatch. You'd think I'd know. I've been watching Overwatch for a while. He's been playing a lot of it since he got home because, of course, there was a new character released. And so that I want to get done. I want to get the stripy socks done. I'm trying to clean off my needles, except for the Christmas Eve cast on, which is tomorrow, and we will be at a potluck. So I think I'm going to cast on the Winky and Dobbies Christmas Eve day-ish, so I can knit on them on Christmas Eve. I did want to take time to show off something I got in the mail. This is 100 grams of the Wilderness colorway in the Mountain color hand-painted, and it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous, and I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with it yet. I think it wants to be socks, but it doesn't know what kind of socks. So we're going to talk about that. And I got these adorable little stitch marky thingies with kitties. And this project bag, which told me it wants to have a project in it in the new year. And it is adorable fish, and it makes me miss my fish tank. And it's lined, and it's awesome. So I do want to say thank you very much to the person who sent this to me. I'd show you more, but basically most of it's been consumed. Or is in the dishwasher. Not gonna lie. Now, last but not least, I have been dyeing some more yarn. There will be more yarn up probably next week. So keep an eye on the Facebook page, the Ravelry page, or the Facebook page, where I post everything, or on my Instagram, because I also post about it there. And since I didn't talk about it last week on this one, I talked about it on my floss tube. I just wanted to make a brief note that I finished this book. It's called The Girls. It's by Emma Klein. I actually bought it hardcover because I was so interested in it. It came highly recommended from my friend Lily, and I generally always trust her. She's never steered me wrong. I don't think. I don't think she ever has. There's been one or two where I was like, I didn't get it as much as you. We have our disagreement on beatniks. She likes Allen Ginsberg. I like Jack Kerouac. So be it. That's just how we are. Now, you can get this book for 20% off at Barnes & Noble or Target or anywhere that's selling brand, like, that discounts the new editions, because this is so new and it's still out. Basically, how I've interpreted this is a story, a fictionalized story of a girl who joins a cult in the 1960s, similar to the Manson cult. I believe that it was modeled after the Manson cult, and I've tried to figure out if the girl she tries to follow, what's her name? Evie follows Suzanne. That's it, Suzanne. It started with an S. I can't decide if that's supposed to be Sadie or Squeaky from the Manson family, because judging by the way it sounds, almost like Squeaky, but then it could be Sadie too. So clearly it's very definitively based off of the Manson murders and whatnot, and this is written from the perspective of a girl who was in the cult but who wasn't there, but who could have been there. And as we know, there were many people involved in the Manson family, and there are many people who could have been there. So it's an interesting take on what that would have been like and what life was like in the 60s with divorced parents. I totally loved it. It took me 2 days to read. 2 days, like, I didn't want to stop. It's 300 and some odd pages, which, I could have read it in a day, but I had to work. That's really how it boiled down. I was like, no, I have to work. I can't keep going. 355 pages. Only stopped for work, eating, and urination. So if that kind of stuff interests you, totally check it out. It's got blurbs from Jennifer Egan, Richard Ford, and Lena Dunham. If you're like me and you aren't a big fan of Lena Dunham, don't let that turn you off. I believe this is her first book. I'm looking forward to the new year. I am going to be participating in the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge of 2017, expanded edition. So feel free to come join me along if you're doing that. And also, just a side note, I joined Litzy. I'm not sure if any of you have it, but feel free to add me there. I'm also Sadie Ruin. And Litzy is like Instagram meets Goodreads. Awesome. So, if you're anything like me, you've got stuff to do. So this is everything I had to talk about this week. I will see everybody next week, which will probably be either the New Year or right before the New Year. Maybe I'll do New Year's Eve. I don't know. It will depend. But I will be here, and I hope you have a great holidays, and I hope you have a wonderful time, and I hope you have people or pets to be around, and I hope you have good food. Bye.